Good day and welcome to another episode of the Bindu Business Podcast. With me today, I've got Thabang Phala, who's a brand strategist, social entrepreneur. He's also a host of a show similar to this one, but not as good as this one. It's actually quite a lot of things. I don't know which ones you paid me to say. Which other one did you pay me to say, Thabang?
Oh wow, a lot of things, man. I do a lot of things, but I'm an all-rounder, as people like to say. I do a lot of things, but I think you'll know more about me in this podcast. Yeah, but this one is not better than the Abuti Rams show. Thank you very much. But thank you so much, Leon, for having me.
Yes. So before we get in and we start talking about the businesses that you've done and what you do, who is Thabang Phala? Where does it come from? Just give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Very, very interesting. I hardly get these questions. Anyway, it's really good to be on the other side for a change, because I'm always on the other side asking people questions.
Yes.
And it feels weird. But my name is Thabang Phala. I was previously known as Thabang Ramurok. And then some people are like, were you married? Why did you change your name to Phala?
Yes.
But I'm an African man, and as an African, I believe in traditional customs and also understanding your ancestors and actually finding your lineage and your family as people. And it's quite important to this story that I share with you, because it ties into the person that you see as an entrepreneur, and because I then learned about my other side of the family, which is from my father's side, where I took the Thabang Phala, the Phala from. And I found out that family actually was more entrepreneurial. And I actually didn't understand, because being in the Ramoroka family, they were just academics, people who just went to school, excel in school. Some of them, they work in Standard Bank, they work in all these different big institutions. But I didn't understand why I had to choose the entrepreneurship route until I found myself as a Phala. But I was born and raised in Limpopo, in a small village not far from the border of Botswana, called Ramatlala. In Ramatlala, there's a smaller village there called Mankhodi. So it's not really far from the what we call Eden, where the cradle of humankind comes from, the Mapungubwe area, national park, that side. So I come from there. And I was born and raised in that area, but quickly then moved in 1997. I moved in, so you can tell you my age actually. I was then doing grade 3 at that time, and I moved into Gauteng, the place of gold. I lived in Soshanguve, a township called Soshanguve in Gauteng, and I lived with my aunt. That's where I practically did my schooling. All my schooling. I did my primary schooling from grade 4 all the way until I finished my matric, and I did also my varsity in Soshanguve. So I'm a social boy. So I'm fan of Pitori. So I actually speak the lingo. So basically that's about me. I did my primary schooling there, Singobile Primary School, and then from there went to Tutong Secondary, and from there I went to Soshanguve High. I studied at Soshanguve High, did my sciences then. Now I'm speaking. I'm like it's like a mirror. I'm watching a movie, but really, I lived all my life in Pretoria, and I still reside in Pretoria. I have I've got 2 houses in Pretoria, so that's how much I love Pretoria. Thinking of going back home next year. Not Ramatlala per se, but Bakersford from my father's side in Khoshi's Kukuni. And I encourage people to actually read up on the history of Khoshi's Kukuni, not the one where they say potata, like he was killed by what is this
sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
Yes.
But the real story of Khoshi's Kukuni, and you'll really love it and understand understand what really transpired. But yeah, I was just a normal kid from a previously disadvantaged community, like many of us in the country. Lived in the townships, and in those townships, that's where I was raised. I was raised in a very strong Christian background, Christian family. All my aunts in Soshanguve, they were Christian. Even my uncle was actually a pastor. So even in high school, so I had to go to church, and I was back then we called them keyboardist, but now it was a pianist actually. Later on, you realize that usually you're a pianist. So I have a strong Christian background. I was taught to love people, respect people, and honor my word, and be a good citizen. Not a citizen of heaven, but a citizen of earth, and really be communal with people, and learn on how to respect people and have share with people, and those are the values that you find in Christianity. And some people like to spiritualize a lot of these elements about Christianity, whereas they're very, very practical and very simple. That the teachings of Christianity are the ones that really groomed me to become the man that I am today. And I think when people look at me from now, they don't actually understand where I come from, and the teachings that I received from very tender age really molded me to become the person that I am, the character that I am. And when you see the business person that is doing a whole lot of things, the media person that is doing all these things, there's a grounding, there's a foundation behind it, and that foundation is found in the teachings of Christianity. And it's a although we can have like really religious and political discussions right now, or philosophical discussions around if Christianity was meant to suppress people or whatever, but we have seen the great side of Christianity, and that has made us or molded us to become who we are. I don't know why I'm talking about Christianity, but it's quite an important aspect of my life, which I feel that it shouldn't be left out of. Maybe if I pass on 2 years from now, people look at these archives and realize that surely this is how this person lived. So it's, I was raised by a family that really believes in God and believes in taking children to church and teaching them the great principles of living with people and sharing and being communal and everything. That's what the teachings that I got. And in my primary schooling, that's when I was introduced to entrepreneurship, and I didn't understand that actually it was in me, but it was really ignited through what my aunt, the big aunt, Mamogolo Waka, Mamogolo Paulina, who really taught me on how to become an entrepreneur.
How?
Yeah, it's a interesting story. So during school holidays in winter, when you have those breaks in between your academic year, so we would go out and sell magwenya, which is fat cooks or fat cakes. I don't know you guys what you call them in your language. Magwenya, they are quite big in townships, and people love, the baby magwenya, they love them so much. They mix them with acha and have them with mafali. Mafali is like the small Russian, not Russians, French palonis, I think. And I used to go out with my aunt and to go and sell magwenya. She taught me how to do that. I think back then magwenya, it was like 50 cents, I think, one. And we'd go to knock at every door that we could find, next door, our neighbors, everywhere in our communities, and sell magwenya, fat cakes, in the morning, very, very cold. So we wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll find that my aunt has already baked them, and I need to go and take a 20-liter bucket full of magwenya and go and sell. If they're not finished, I'd finish around 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when I would know that I've done my first load of 20 liters. Sometimes they want more, then I'll go and fetch a 10-liter or 5-liter bucket, and we go and sell magwenya. And that's when I learned actually entrepreneurship, knocking on people's doors, learning on how to actually sell.
Yes.
You know, the art of selling, you know, finding and facing rejection. You know, some of these things that I was taught from a very tender age. I mean, that's something that I never, on a later stage of my life, I never really recognized. But now I'm like, yeah, actually, this is where it actually started, where I learned on how to deal with rejection when people say that, hey, I give back, or some of them, they act like they are not in at home, you know, they lock their doors,
yes,
you know, or then you bump into a dog
yes.
chasing you, you know, and I think that's why my journey of entrepreneurship really started when I was in primary and secondary. But my high schooling, then I really didn't do much of that because I lived with another aunt. But now the interesting thing about that part when I was doing my high schooling from grade 10 until grade 12 was that on the other side of Soshanguve, it's block FF. Now, there used to be a time where, you know, ladies loved to sing to R. Kelly songs or you know, Mariah Carey songs and all those people, you know, we belong together songs, you know.
Yes.
They would have song books, you know, write song books, write lyrics and then sing them, and then sometimes they would have to compose love letters. I don't know, I've come from that generation, guys, where we used to write.
Those were our days.
Those were the real days, not this ones. These ones are fake, guys.
Yeah.
We're living in a scam generation now. Hey.
Yeah.
But you know, at that time, you know, we used to have you know, ladies writing lyrics on those song books, you know, 72 pages books, you know. Two choir.
Yes.
You know.
The one where you have to actually play the song, stop it after 5 seconds.
And write, and then rewind.
Play it again, yeah.
That was the time. Those were the times. And I actually started learning on how to really, you know, rewind with cassettes.
Yes.
You know, the first cassette that I had was Black or White by Michael Jackson. Hey, that one was like, yo, that was, I used to sing to every song of you know, Michael Jackson. So I loved Michael Jackson at the time. And I don't even remember where I got that cassette from. It was very original, you know, because you know, there was a time where you could really replicate the cassette and make your own copy and stuff like that.
Yes.
But I had an original Michael Jackson. It was quite awesome. But that generation now, you had those ladies who used to write lyrics on 72 pages or two choirs and decorate them nicely. Sometimes they would then, during Valentine, they would then write lyrics from those songs, and then you know, and then they do cards, you know, and then send them to their boyfriends and whatever. And I saw a problem there.
Okay.
Most of our ladies, they don't really know English, you know. And you know, I was quite fluent in English, and I was quite a good student. I was an A student, so English was one of those that gave me a lot of awards anyway. So even competitions, I would really nail it. And I saw a problem that these ones, they don't know how to speak English, man. They can't even write English. So I need to find a solution around this thing. I hear what these people are saying. You can't just say, you have to you have to really sing what Asha is saying. You know, you need to listen to the lyrics and understand what Asha is saying. You know, you got it bad. You know, you don't mix your own words there. And I then found a strategy around this thing that, look, I also don't want to be listening to these records and start writing them. Let me find a way around this thing. And that's what, like, when the internet was coming through in our country, you know, when you started having internet. Fortunately, my sister was working for a security company, you know? And now on weekends, I would go with her to work, you know, just to learn and whatever. So I had my first, you know, take a boy child to work on weekends, you know. And my sister, while working there, and I would sit on the computer. She does other things, and then I will search for lyrics of those songs, you know. Burn, you know, Asha, all those double lyrics, you know. We belong together. All those type boys to men. You know, Backstreet, you know, all those guys, man. We come from a very beautiful generation that time. And I would take those lyrics, put them in a Word document, Back then, I think we used to have word art or something like that.
Yes,
Before we had
the one which
Microsoft.
people used to do the curriculum vitae.
That
Yes.
one with those, funny fonts going this way and
Yes.
whatnot. Yeah, and that was and we used to have that thing. It was Rich Art. There was a program called Rich Art, and I would copy those things and put them there from the internet, and I'd put them on that, and then I would put them in different pages, and then print, right? So I'd use those resources from AT Security Company.
Yes.
It was in Mabopani that time. And on Monday, I'm there with lyrics. 10 rand, 1 page, 2 pages, 20 rand.
So the whole song.
The whole song. If the song is long, then you're gonna pay, 2 pages, 3 pages. And surprisingly, women, like ladies that time, I mean, they would buy those lyrics. 10 rand, Baba. I was even a DJ, at some point, DJing with, what is this, auto mix.
Yes.
There's auto mix and there's virtual DJ, I come from that generation where we used to DJ with computers and we'd cue in songs nicely and everything. I was good, guys. But then when I got to varsity, and how is a different environment?
Things were changing back then.
Yeah, things now are starting to change. In the early 2000s now, you have TUT after merging with the different technical, and it was technical what and then they merged into
the teachers,
one. Yeah, they merged into one and it became TUT, and then we were the the cohort that caught up with that merger. And now I was in love with music so much, so I wanted to study like sound music, and also I wanted to do IT. So I was caught in between a lot of things, but also my grades were quite good for anything anyway. So so I told myself that, what, I'm gonna still do music and I'm still gonna do IT.
And how did your family take that when you told them you want to study music? Did you tell them you want to study music?
I did tell them that I want to start music because they knew, because I was already playing piano.
At church, yes.
I was playing at church, I was playing at crusades.
And as an African parent, how did they take that?
Yeah, it was something else. I was like, yeah, music. I was but I had good supportive parents. Apart from my aunt was very strict, but my mom and my dad were very supportive in anything that I wanted to do. Like, whatever you want to do, we'll support you. And I think I'm very grateful to have such parents who were okay with anything that I wanted to do, because I think my dad really believed in that, so much. And I'm a product of my dad. My dad left his job, well-paying job as a manager of a biggest hotel in the country, and he had shares in Moropa Casino before it was even established. He had shares in them. He still has shares now, gets dividends every month, even today. And went home and built his house and stopped working, and then he opened a bakery. And that's some of the things. And I'll share a bit of my father's side, which you will learn a lot about entrepreneurship as well. But now getting into varsity now, I wanted to do IT or music or both of them at the same time. Yeah, I took that risk. So entered in 2007, where we had the biggest strike TUT has ever had. There was a guy who was very rowdy and very troublesome called Small. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Small really messed up our curriculum,
Yes.
And there was a time. It was a time of Angie Museha, I think. She was. No, Angie. Who's this? Naliti Pando. Who was the minister of higher education?
Yes,
at
back
the
then.
time. We didn't have higher education; it was just education, I think. Yeah, before they were divided into two. And in the morning, I would attend classes for IT at TUT. In the afternoon, 3 p.m., I was attending at the UNISA music.
Oh, so you actually did both at once? Okay.
So Monday to Friday, I was doing that. So I was doing grade 1 music. I learned about Mozart. I did grade 1. I learned how to write music and do all that. But my journey was cut short. I had to cut out music because of the strike that was taking place at TUT. So now our schedule was affected. Now we leave school at 6 o'clock in the evening because now timetables were now switched because of that strike. So I think some of the things that you see that are happening in institutions of higher learning, that actually these things actually they're not really worth it. They affect a lot, and some students, they really need help, from lecturers. They need help from wherever. So it's quite difficult, especially coming from high school, and now you are hit by a strike.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the thing of strikes in schools, and that's why they always say that if you want a real strike, you must go to TUT. That's where you're really gonna get something out.
Yes.
Don't go to the VC ones and tax ones. Those ones won't get you anything.
Yes. I had the TUT. If there's no strike, they strike that there is no strike.
Yeah.
There's a strike that there is no strike.
Yeah, man. So I think that thing affected my studies in terms of now prioritizing which one is really important, and I took IT. So I did IT programming in my first year, and look, I mean, I did. After my first year, then I was a bright student. I've always been a bright student. Getting into my second year, I mean, that's when I was majoring now in programming. I was doing web and applications development. And I made friends, and some of the friends were not really that smart. And I had to help them.
Yes.
And in helping them, some of them, they rewarded me. So you can call it whatever.
Yes.
So some of them, I helped them with assignments. And the highest I got paid to help, a student was 4,000 on a system. Develop a system.
Or is that the final year system where you have to do a prototype?
Yeah, you have to do a prototype of of that system that you have developed, and I would code it in PHP, CSS, and HTML, and all these different languages. Sometimes I would do it in C#, depending on which language I would want to play with. And so for those who don't know, those are the languages for IT.
Yes.
So And I helped a lot of them. Some of them, like, I had a flat rate fee, like 2.5. So if you want a system, 2.5. And people knew where to find me. I don't know, like, they know, like, there's a guy who can help you, man. You will pass,
Yes.
So one of the adjudicators who was, looking into these people's systems, noticed something very similar about the systems, like, why are these people getting high marks now? They're getting 100, some of them 97. What is really happening?
But these people have been failing.
And they've been failing. In
Yes.
class, they're not really doing well. Who's behind this thing and whatnot? And that's when I met a good friend called Misho. Misho Ngoveni, and he shout out to this guy who's leading one of the biggest organizations on developers in the country called Geek Culture. Misho, approached me like, Rams, I think you are the one. I'm like, what do you mean I'm the one? I think you are the one who's been doing these systems for people. Why are they passing you? I'm like, oh, and I bumped into him outside because I was not sure of that other student that she was going to present properly. So I had to guide her before she goes into the room to get assessed. Yeah. So that's when I'm like, when you are the one who's busy doing these systems for people. And I laughed about it, and that's where our friendship actually started. And we've been buddies for a very long time now. And I've worked with him at the Innovation Hub, and he worked with me with product the project that I had with Standard Bank. So that's where we grew in that space. So look, I mean, I was an entrepreneur, dude. I made money when I was in varsity. So I've been an entrepreneur. This is in me. Yes. This is in me. So I've always been an entrepreneur. But I mean, before leaving varsity, and I was already taken, before I could even finish my studies, I was already taken to do an internship before I could even finish. Because of being a bright student, fine, but I was then employed in a company called For Anything Marketing. And that's when I learned the bigger world of things, that the industry now.
But you didn't stay there for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't stay there for a long time.
So what made you decide to go into entrepreneurship? Because I think you only worked there for 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
6 months,
then after that you've never had a job. You've never worked for anyone since then.
Yeah.
So what made you do that? What made you not go the 9 to 5 route? I mean, both your parents grew up doing 9 to 5. Why did you go I think maybe this was before your father actually resigned, right?
Yes.
This was before he retired, I think is the word.
Sure.
So even if your father hadn't done that, he had worked the 9 to 5. So why did you decide that, you know what, I'm not going to go the 9 to 5?
It's craziness. But the real story is that, and hence I started with my spirituality, because it's quite an important aspect of my life. When 2009, I had established an organization called Agape Youth Movement with a friend of mine called Josephine Bila. And we got other people to join in. Then when we registered, we were 8. That organization today, as we speak, it exists in all the provinces, and it does work in the training, development, and education space. It partners with United Nations. It works with United Nations. It gets funding from all these big organizations in Germany and other areas. And I had an agreement with God. I had a contract with God that I'm going to be in this organization to revive it, because it was dying in 2012. I was going to revive after I'd done my internship for 6 months. I told my boss that, look, this is not for me. I want to pursue my passion of developing people. I have an organization. Number 2, I want to do my own thing. I want to run my own company. He thought it was stupid decision, because I was still new and I was doing great. I was the first black. I was young. I was first black person in the company. I'm gonna be like the top IT guy in the country, or even in Africa or something. But I was not for that. I was hell bent on my contracting that I have with God. God said, I'll take care of you. You won't have anything to worry about in terms of eating and everything. If you take care of the stuff that I want you to take care of. That was 2012. Now the organization is already 3 years in existence, but it was dying because a lot of my peers, because we were in the same age, they were going to other provinces, starting to work and whatnot. Even Leon left us because he was part of the organization at some point. And some of them, they went to work, they did their things, and it's well and great. I mean, it's good. That's what we wanted. We want young people to progress. We can't keep young people in organizations that's not going to pay them anything. And God said, look, I'm going to fund your company. Your company is going to fund the organization. Like, what the hell? What do you mean? This does not make sense. I mean, I'm just a web developer. I know nothing about running a company and stuff like that. I mean, but God proved it with the first client that I'm going to make your company great. And my first client was Fred Eboka.
Who that?
Forever.
Who's that?
Now, great question. Fred Eboka is one of the best fashion designers in the world. He did the Cape Town fashion show. He dresses Chris Brown. He used to dress Miriam Makeba. He used to dress Seal. I mean, this big people. So just check Freddie Eboka on the internet. You'll really see who we're talking about. That was my first client.
Just for our young audience, Seal is not an animal. It's actually an artist.
It's an artist. Artist from the UK.
Yes, just for the young audience.
Yes. He's a black UK artist. Yeah, so that for me was huge. I didn't know the guy before the meeting until I met him, because my then lecturer then said to me, "Look, I want you to meet my uncle who needs a website. I can't do the website. You can."
Oh, that's how you actually met him.
Yeah, that's how.
Okay, because I was actually asking myself, how did you advertise it out there? That
because I didn't advertise anything. I didn't have a name for my company by the way.
Yes. Oh, okay.
I didn't even know what is an invoice or a quotation for that matter.
Okay.
But quite interesting is that now my lecturer trusted me with his uncle's big brand like Eboka Designs, and I didn't know this uncle. Sure. Hey, it was just something else. I mean, I went to the house in Brooklyn, met with this guy. There's a pool up there, you know. It was glitz and glamour, yeah. And this is like way years ago, guys. But that guy, you know, told me like, look, I believe that you can do this. I did the website. Coded the website.
As this was your first client, I'm just thinking of a funny scenario in my head where he gives you the spec of what he wants. He tells you he wants this big website. It should have this and this, and he asks you how much. And because this is your first client, in my head I'm thinking you just like 5 clip, you know, $500. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
That you
undercharged.
Guys, I charged him 1.2.
Yes, which is still little.
It was too little for the work that I did.
Yes.
I mean, I was like, but I was happy. I was excited. But I mean, if you get that 1.2, you don't know what to do with it. Like at that time, around Thabang Biggest time, you know, money was still money. You don't know, it's not money.
So what I was thinking in my head was actually what happened. You charged too little.
I think that's a journey of many entrepreneurs, I guess, who really don't know how to code and do whatever. We never taught these things, you know.
Yes, and you haven't actually worked for anyone.
Sure.
I'm guessing at this point you don't even know what other people are charging out there as well.
Interesting, you know, because the only time I found an invoice or quotation was when I was doing my internship on my project manager's desk. He was charging. We were building some component of African Bank website at 1.2 million.
And here you are charging 1.2
at that
million
time I was
divided
getting 5,000. I was getting 5,000 intern money.
Yes.
And hey, I was disturbed in my spirit. I was like, guys, what
is that something that actually made you want to go into entrepreneurship
Not
as well,
really,
to say,
but it's a trigger.
I want the whole...
But I don't think it was not really a trigger. The biggest trigger was really my passion for development or developing other people, which was my contract with God. And really, I went into that space of NGOs, developing other, young people.
And what exactly does the organization do, Agape Youth Movement?
Well, I mean, back in the days, it was doing everything. It was the Holy Spirit. It was everywhere. But right now, its focus is really on education development in the country, because we believe that if you don't fix education, you can't get anything right. And so it's within the education space. It deals with leadership and morality and ethics in schools. So there's things that you are seeing a lot of kids now beating each other, beating educators now,
smoking weed.
Hey, 60-something of them smoking weed, in 30-something, I don't know, like the whole class smoking weed. I mean, those are the things that we are trying to deal with, and I'm saying we are as if I'm still with the organization, but I'm there.
Are you not with the organization anymore?
No. I had my contract ended.
Okay.
So my contract ended in 2019. So I started 2009, and 2019 it ended. My contract with God, and 10 years of my life I spent without getting income from the organization, without getting anything. And I worked literally for the organization to build it to be where it is today. And the connections, the networks, the media, everything, but God was very faithful to bring people like yourself as well, Leon, and bring Thabang, all these great people, young people that we have met throughout the journey. Then look, man, the organization is really destined for great things in this country. It's really doing some impactful programs, and you'll see a different breed of young people in the coming years, young leaders who are going to be leading this country. I think if I can go into the session, I can really tell who's going to be the next president in 2050. I can literally tell from there, because the way they are articulating themselves, the way they see their country, the way they see the development of other people in this country.
Who's the biggest looter there?
Hey, that's why we are removing them already.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what the organization does. But I mean, it has really opened so much doors for me as a business person as well. I was able to meet a lot of big names in the country. If I name drop, you guys will cry.
No need. Yeah.
So it really exposed me to a lot of business opportunities, and also because like I always say that if you're faithful to your covenant or your promise or your contract, it will yield benefits. So I was faithful to my contract with God, and really God pulled through, guys. Through. Most of my success started after 2019. Some of the biggest things that I've achieved. Of course, I mean, in my journey of being an entrepreneur, I mean, I grew. I started opening offices and having staff, and it was quite an odd thing, paying people, like starting like, actually people are on my payroll.
Yes.
Actually, I'm a boss. Wow.
Yes. So just before we go further, so with you being a Christian and being an entrepreneur at the same time,
sure.
Have there been any instances where you had to do something against your faith for business?
Look, there's been temptations, and I think maybe that's why I haven't been quite big entrepreneur or a big business person, because somebody told me something that in business you really have to lose your morals, and I think maybe there's some of the things that, like, I don't agree with such things. There's been temptations. There's been some instances where people really want to lure you to do some things that are really illegal. And the what do you call these things? Nando's brown envelopes and bags.
Yes.
Midnight things, go there, meet and give this comrade money, and like those things are really far from my faith, and the values that my faith teaches. The Christian faith teaches such things, that you shouldn't be mixing yourself in such things. And so it like in business it has been quite tough, because some of the big business deals that I've missed is as a result of my faith.
Okay. Just a bit of topic as well. Would you open a tavern?
Yeah, I would open a tavern.
Okay, so you don't see a conflict with that?
No, there's no conflict with. You see, there's a notion in society that Christian people are not supposed to be drinking, or Christian people aren't supposed to be owning alcoholic whatever. But I mean, the first miracle that Jesus Christ performed was of alcohol. At a wedding.
Yes.
He was grooving at a wedding.
Yes.
So I think some of the things are very far off. I mean, in the Bible you find it saying that you must have a little bit of wine for digestion purposes. So wine is really not for making you a mocker. It's not supposed to be making you a dumb person. It's supposed to help with digestion, and to also help when you are celebrating. One of my favorite scriptures is Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 11. It says that wine and parties are there for celebrations and stuff. And it continues to say that money is the answer for everything. In one scripture, it speaks about 2-3 things, party, wine, and money.
Just to put it out there, this is just a disclaimer first. This is not a gospel channel, but Thabang is turning it into it. People have this, they say money is the root of all evil. It's actually the love of money.
The love of money there.
Yes, I just want to put that out there, because a lot of people actually confuse that.
If I were to become very controversial, I would say that scripture was really written for Africans so that they don't make money. Let's not go there.
Yes.
But the purpose of that is that I can open a tavern as a Christian, because I believe that it's a commercial activity. between people who want to get, something that's going to ease the tension and have fun with it and whatever, but not overdo. I think if I were to find in my tavern, find people who are getting drunk, and I see that they're going to get drunk and they're going to start making noise here, then I can stop them and not serve them and whatnot. I think that will be me putting measures to then say, look, we need to drink, fine, but don't overdo it.
Yes.
We have a drinking problem in this country. Sorry, we have a drinking problem in this country.
Yeah, but anyway, back to back to what. So how did you tell your mom that I'm leaving this company and I'm going to do my own thing? How did you tell? How did she take that? Because I'm thinking African parents they are not that open-minded.
Yeah.
And apologies for using this blanket statement.
Sure.
But I think that's actually the reality with most of
majority
of us.
Yeah.
So how did they take it when you told them that I'm going to do my own thing? I'm not doing a 9 to 5. I'm going to make websites for people who can pay me 40,000, but I'm going to charge 1.2. How did she take it when you said that?
Leon, it was quite an emotional time of my life. And I'm always careful on how to say this thing, especially in public, because it involves my immediate family, especially from the side Ramoroka. I told my parents, I told my mom and told my dad. My dad was chilled about it. He didn't have a problem because he did the same anyway. He was like, copy and paste. But my mom didn't take it nicely at first. At first, because she raised this boy who did very well, never got into trouble in school, never, passed everything on record time, even earlier. I finished school earlier. I finished when I was 17. I finished like a lot of things I did early. And now this boy just got a job, and it's well-paying job now. Moved from internship. Now I'm entering into as a junior. From 5,000 to 12.5 now. And this boy just wants to quit and go into. It was like you can imagine as a parent, like I think it will put me off guard at some point. I think.
No, I think it actually goes back to, given the history of South Africa, where Africans couldn't get into certain fields back in the days. I think they see us as the generation that can become doctors, can become lawyers, where the sky is the limit for us. So I think in their mind, they've got these expectations that my child can go far in corporate.
Sure.
So that's why it's a disappointment.
And it hit her hard because I think, they're looking at, look, I'm going to retire soon. And this one was the hope of the family. My sister didn't do well. And I'm the last hope. And now this boy is going to go into an unknown environment where you're not sure you're going to get money. You're going to hustle. I felt for her as well. But I couldn't resist the urge of listening to what God wanted me to do. So she was not really happy about it at first, but she supported me even when she was in pain. To a point where my family from the Ramroka side, some of them, they distanced themselves from me.
Was it still
they insulted me and like, why could you do this to your mom? Why, all those things? Because they didn't understand what I wanted to do. I was not built that way. I was not built to work for someone. I was built to employ other people. They didn't understand it because it has never existed in the family. And that's when I had to take a journey to understand my roots as a person. And I looked into my father's side. And there was war. And that war was, where was your father all the time? Everything. There was just so many issues, and I reached out to my father's side, and they loved me, and they taught me so much. All of them in that family, they're entrepreneurs.
Is your father still alive?
My father is still alive. Runs a small bakery there in Bakersford, and and remember, my dad says something even while talking lightly that Kamo Kehabo Benz. This is a family where we drive Mercedes Benz, and that for me challenged me so much that, so basically this is a different, environment. And I would encourage people to really touch base with their father's side. They'll learn a lot about themselves. That's why we have Kumbule Kaya's programs on TV, because those people are really trying to get in touch with their father's side. Because our families have been broken by this colonial evil system that distance parents and segregated, our parents. And there's a painful history of this country that we're not talking about, which really needs to be spoken of frankly and with all the emotions, and we have to cry and release everything, because the thing of segregation, of taking a person from Limpopo, bringing them to Gauteng, and taking another one from KZN and put them in Gauteng, and they are different, and the next thing they meet here, they make kids here, and then they leave their wives, they leave their husbands there. It's a very painful history of this country. The black family unit has been destroyed. And I think that we need to be having such frank conversations around what colonization did and what apartheid did as well. Those two institutions really killed our, people, our black people. That's why men are killing themselves, and killing even their loved ones,
their wives, their kids. GBV.
There's a serious and deep thing that really happened in this country, and we haven't addressed it. It's going to take spiritual healing, not physical, not economics. It's going to take physical healing to heal. And because men feel that they can't provide and stuff like that. It's a very painful thing. I don't want to talk about that, but I was just saying that I went into that journey of discovering who I am as a person, and discovering some of these things that I didn't understand about myself. Why am I so crazy enough to leave a well-paying job where I could be a top executive in an IT company, big IT company, and now to
go do your own thing.
My own thing.
No guaranteed income.
No guaranteed income. Month end, I have to patch and do all those type of things. And that was crazy. Worst thing is, Leon, when I left my job, I had opened a loan with FNB.
Okay. Oh, I was saying, please don't let it be a clothing account in my head.
No, it was a personal loan with FNB.
For? Did you?
So that I can build my mom a house.
Oh, okay.
And that thing dragged for so long. I took time to pay that thing.
Yes.
There were lawyers involved and whatnot. I had to pay, from paying 1.5 a month to paying 300. Sometimes paying 150. It was a very painful. I don't know how many years. I think it took me 3 or something years to pay it off. That thing, really, yeah. That's why if I told myself that whenever I buy anything, I buy cash. So even with my cars, every car that I bought, it was cash. I don't like credit. That's how sentimental I have towards credit. But look, I think I turned out great. I think I turned out.
No, it worked out fine. It turned out fine.
Well,
yes.
If we were to do a movie,
well, it's still going on. Even
it's still
now.
going on,
Yes.
and I think my mom is happy. Is in a happy
And
place.
how was your relationship after that with her?
It was quite good because my mom then supported me throughout.
So she came around to understanding
she understand the type of a person I am. And now when I was starting to appear on media and doing interviews, and even the other family members started like, oh, actually this is what you are trying to do. This is what you're doing.
Now they understand the vision and the goal.
Because it's quite tough. And I must admit that people, when you start, people don't really understand what you're trying to do. And they will dismiss what you're doing and saying what you're saying to them because they don't understand what is in your head. But practicalize it. Make it practical for them. Make it clear for them. So that they start supporting you, start being there for you. My family came around and they really came through for me.
Just to put something out there, this is not about you. It's a bit about me, though. One advantage, there was a time that I came and I stayed with you, I think for a week or a month, I forgot. But one of the advantages that privilege, let's just call it privilege, that you have being in Pretoria. Now, home is in Limpopo. That's home.
Yeah.
So with me is I have to pay for a place to stay. So I didn't have that privilege as well. Some of the people don't have that privilege. So someone in Soweto, if they're staying at home, because I don't understand why people are in such a rush to move out of home. Because if you want to start a business, the best thing to do is to stay at home. You're not paying for a place somewhere in Centron, wherever. You're not paying. You're hustling well. I was just putting that out there.
And it's an important thing because I started my business at home.
Yes. If you didn't have that home.
Now that's another disadvantage. Yes. Would be a disadvantage. But the other room I turned it into, a
office.
Workspace, an office space. So I had a partner called Tumelo who'd drive from Tembisa, come to my place, and we'd work from my office there.
Yes.
Interesting thing. I mean, even when COVID hit, I didn't feel like we were at a loss. I mean, we closed our office and people started working from home.
Oh, okay.
And I taught them the culture of working from home. That you can have discipline.
It's about productivity.
And if you have internet, you have good internet, you have a good phone, you have a good laptop. I mean, you could get the work done.
Definitely.
And I think that's some of the things that, a lot of entrepreneurs are missing out on. They don't really understand that these are the important things that you could, do. And I think the pandemic really helped us to sharpen our businesses a bit. I had more business in the pandemic.
Yes.
I did a lot of things in the pandemic, and I know it affected my business as well. But I know I lost a lot of business because I lost clients.
Yes.
Clients closed down. Big companies closed down, guys. The pandemic was not nice, but I surfed, in the water.
And what would you say were your highs in business?
Oof. Dude, I take small things big. I maximize on small things.
What has been the biggest thing though? The biggest achievement, which if you had to list, to say this is the biggest thing that I've ever.
I think working for World Bank when they were establishing the Climate Innovation Center in the country. That for me was the highlight of. That's when I said, there are people who actually recognize that
yes.
that actually. There's something that I'm doing, in the space of branding, design, digital marketing, and stuff.
Yes.
And maybe I think we should call me for a digital marketing.
We're actually going to do that. We're going to actually have an educational episode.
Sure.
On branding and marketing, which is something that you do.
Definitely.
For people out there who have businesses.
I'll be happy to share that.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I think that was the biggest highlight of my business life, and there's so many things that I've done, but I think the biggest thing that which I think is this it's small but big, that when you pay people salaries, and they go home, and maybe one or two of them they have kids, and they're able to buy food for their kids and take them to the mall and do that for me is life changing.
Yes, definitely.
Shucks, man. If I feed one mouth, that mouth is gonna feed more, 4 or 5. Because you know how our families are in black communities. They share, and then they are at home. We share that salad that we're getting.
Doesn't that also scare you because you hold other people's hopes, livelihood in your hands? If you mess up in business. Don't you have that pressure?
That for me, that's the pressure, bro. Yeah. And it's exciting, it's thrilling, but it's so beautiful. It's fulfilling. I tell you, Leon, if you have to employ people and they depend on you for salary and they look at you, are we making money this month? Are we having salaries this month? Leon, it's the best feeling ever. It's thrilling, it's challenging, it's pressure on you, but I'm telling you, it's worthwhile. It's worth everything. And I tell you this because I experienced that. Some of the time there was a time where business was very bad, right? They wanted to close the office. I had to cry, bruh. I had to cry, and I had to make ends meet, and come through for the team. There were times where things were very tough, but that is the thrilling part about business. And I want people who are really geared for this thing called entrepreneurship to really don't lose hope and push as much as you can.
Okay. And what was the low? What would you say that moment was the low when things were bad?
Yeah, I think, getting to your office in the morning and not me getting, and then you have your employees telling you that they locked the office and you're on your way to work. Shucks, man. That was so devastating, bro. Like you feel like you have let these people down. Not only these people, but their families down. That was the lowest point of my life, But something interesting, Leon, is that in life that when you are at your lowest, and that's when you are closer to your victory. I tell you, my friend, when you are at that point where everything seems so dark, dull, and no hope, that's when you are close, and don't lose hope at that point. Because if you dare lose hope, you'll find yourself actually you were just close, very, very, very close. Because a month later, not even a month, a week later, bruh, that's when I got a big contract. Big contract.
Things just changed, just like
things
that.
Changed. And we lose hope a lot of times, because we've been through so much. The pain is too much. I understand. But don't lose hope. Don't lose hope.
Okay. At that moment when things were bad, did you get people who were maybe not supportive, saying, yes, we told him it wouldn't work out? Did you get such people, maybe some people in family who were doubted the path you took? Did you get some of those people, friends, colleagues who you studied with, who were like, but we told you this is not going to work out?
Not really, hey. I think I'm appreciative of my family and friends and relatives who then became very supportive. I think if it went for them, I would have lost my mind, I think, as well. But we can lose it all, but if we have people who support you and who believe in you so much, and I would encourage a lot of our families to really support entrepreneurs. Our government has failed. Let's get our families to support.
That's what this podcast is there to do. It's just a way to also get more people into entrepreneurship. That's why we'll be doing our educational episode to teach people about branding and marketing when they start their companies. Just on the final note, Thabang, with all the issues that we have, the high unemployment we have, what do you think are some of the solutions? If we could make you president for a day,
don't make me.
Okay, for 24 hours there. For 24 hours, but what changes would you make in the small business sector, or just overall, just to deal with this whole unemployment that we have in this country?
It's a big responsibility, and I think the president is really dealing with a lot. But one thing for sure is the system is corrupt. From government, procurement systems are corrupt. The system is corrupted, and I think we need to. I know where the system is corrupt, and I think there's a way of fixing that system, because the biggest business that any person in business can get is from government. Let's not deceive each other. There are a few instances where you have Facebook that does not depend on government, but even Facebook has funding from government and all these guys. But if we were to be honest and say we want to fix the system so that everyone benefits, we need to fix procurement systems in government. Number two, in business, in big businesses, we need to fix that. We need to fix procurement in that. A lot of great entrepreneurs start their businesses. They are qualified. They are ready to service businesses. For instance, if you have, a network company, you could get a small company that can manufacture SIM cards. Why aren't we having such? I mean, why is it still belonging to some elite. And I think those are some of the basic things that you could really fix in that procurement. So enterprise development, departments in companies, that's where I would be like fixing hard, because I know that if we give big business as a government to this big businesses, big companies, corporates, then we need to take the small businesses to eat from this big businesses and get a lot of business from there, and it becomes easier that way. So I think have an open market, free market system. Let's cut out the red tapes and all these bureaucracies and all the nonsense that is really happening, where you are limited because now you haven't been in business because of how many times and whatnot. Do you want the product? Do you want the service, or do you want my experience? You want that how many years I've been in the business, or do you want the service? If I can render the service and I can prove that I can render the service, stop it. Give me the business.
True. And Mr. President, that's if you are still in that position. One thing I would also suggest, one thing that I think would also have to change maybe, data is so expensive. I think, you know what, if data was cheaper than what it is, you would get a lot of new people coming into the in different industries. I mean, podcasts like this, people would actually be on the internet 24/7. Sure. You would actually maybe even have your own news station, or your own channel 24 hours on YouTube. You know, so yeah, that's just my thought on that. You know,
I think the tech space, I mean, it's open for people to get in. Unfortunately, there's so many limits. There's infrastructure limit. We have horrible network in this country, by the way. So infrastructure is horrible. We can't even run Zoom meetings properly without any disturbance. And I think those are some of the challenges that we have. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for coming on the show, Thabang. It's been a pleasure having you. We're still going to do that episode on marketing and branding.
Definitely. I'll jump in.
Thank you, man. Cool. Cheers. Bye.